And thank you for tuning in to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, America in Black and White brings you a special edition. We dive into the inspiring journey of Dr. Somone Washington, a trailblazer in her own right. Dr. Somone Washington's story is one of triumph over adversity, and her impact resonates far beyond her individual achievements. Join us as we unravel the layers of her challenges and successes. Let me just tell you a few things about Dr. Somone. She's the owner of KAC Technology Solutions. Dr. Somone Washington is a learning and development professional with 17 years of creating effective learning experiences to her credit. Dr. Washington is a graduate of Florida International University, Barry University, and California State University, Long Beach, and has earned an honorary Doctor of Humanity award from Theophany University. She is a 22-year member of the illustrious organization Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And she's diagnosed with life-threatening end-stage renal failure at the age of 24 years old. Dr. Washington is passionate about sharing her story to spread awareness and inspire others to register as organ donors. That's eye and tissue donors as well, and to save lives, especially in the Black and brown communities. Statistically, we're more likely to need transplants and less likely to donate. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you Dr. Somone Washington. Dr. Washington, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
Well, I'm really glad and honored that you would bless us with your presence. And I'm sure that the story that you're about to tell our audience is going to be more than inspiring. And I want to thank you for your time. So before we get into the show, is there anything you'd like to just let the audience know about you and who you are?
You've given me a great introduction, so I thank you for that. So I am an analyst with the Office of Faculty Affairs at a local university. I also own a technology education company where I work with people of a more mature age in a way to help them learn basic technology skills to help close the digital skills gap that we have here in our country. I also work with small business owners, and I am a kidney transplant recipient.
Oh wow! So let's start with your professional career first.
Okay.
Because I think that's on the I think that's the part that people need to understand as we go back into the story that you like to share.
Mhm.
If you don't mind telling us, can you share some insights into your early life struggles that shaped your journey?
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Miami, Florida, born and raised there. And I went to university at Florida International University. I earned a bachelor's degree, and my major was management information systems. So, computers and technology is really in my DNA. I have been using computers since the age of 2. Uh, um, at school, we were using those old IBMs, the green screen. So I've been using computers since the age of 2. My parents got me my first personal computer at the age of 8. And so I've gone to school to learn more about that. And so after graduating from Florida International University, I moved on to Barry University, which is a private school, also in Miami, Florida. And I got a master's of science degree in information technology. And shortly after graduating from Barry University with that degree, I started my first job. Um, I was just really excited about graduating and starting my new career. I was 24 years old. I was living on my own and really just starting to feel what adult life was, being independent. independently adult, working full time and just really enjoying life as a young person living in Miami, Florida. And then all of a sudden, I got really sick. And before this time, I had never gotten sick for any reason besides the common cold. I never needed to go to the hospital. So this was really out of nowhere. And so when I went to the hospital, I went to the emergency room. And because I was still new on the job, I was still on probation, so I didn't have any medical coverage. And that led me to have to wait in the emergency room for 22 hours before I was seen. And once I was seen, I was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure. And that meant for me was that my kidneys were working at 10%. And so I spent the next 2 weeks in the hospital while the doctors figured out treatment for me. And so they came up with a cocktail of medications to stabilize my condition, and that helped for the next 2 years. But then it got to a point where I needed to start dialysis. And for those who are not familiar with what that is, it's a treatment where you go into a facility and you get connected to a machine that essentially does what your kidneys do naturally if they're working, at capacity. And that means so the machine filters blood out of your body at a slow pace, and it filters through the machine to cleanse your blood, and then filters the blood back into your system the same way that your kidneys would if they're working well. And so by this time, I was an elementary school teacher. And so after work, 3 times a week, I would go into get my treatment. It took about 4 hours. And so you can imagine after working a full day and then going to a 4 hour treatment, that was it for the day. And so I didn't have much of a social life at this point, being a young 27-year-old at this point. Um, and then I began the process of getting on the transplant list. And so I thought that anyone who needed a kidney or an organ would automatically be added to the transplant list, but that is not the case. So we have to prove that we're otherwise healthy in order to be added to the list. And what that means is going through a series of tests and submitting those results in order to be added to the list. So the list that I was given had about 38 different tests that I needed to take. And so that began the process of contacting doctors, making doctor's appointments, going to those appointments, waiting for the results, and then being able to submit the results to be considered to be added to the wait list. And if you can imagine doing that 38 different times, it took a long time, especially because I was still working. And so that took about a year to complete. And then I was added to the transplant list. And so began the process of, being called when potential matches were available, being told that the match wasn't for me. That happened about 5 or 6 times before I was matched. And then, so being diagnosed at 25 years old and finally getting a match and having my kidney transplant at the age of 30 years old. So from diagnosis to transplantation was a period of 5 years. And so, I'll just pause here in case you have questions.
Yes, what I want to know is, to when you're on the donor list and you had to go through all those tests and so forth.
Mhm.
Did they explained that to you before, and how did you feel about that process?
So I didn't know about the process until I started my dialysis treatments. And so, as part of your treatments, you get assigned case managers. And so the case manager explained the process of getting on the wait list. And She was the one that handed me the list and explained what I needed to do in order to be added.
So, how did you feel being a young professional that's ready to start life, start this illustrious career, but then have this suddenly impact your life? How did that affect you?
Well, I was devastated. I was devastated. I I actually thought I was gonna die. Like once I got diagnosed, I didn't really know what it meant, and I honestly thought my life was over. I thought it was just a matter of time before my kidneys would completely fail, and that would be the end of my life. And so, from the point of diagnosis and through this whole process, it was just a daily battle with like what is going to happen to me. Am I going to survive this? Like, I just didn't know. And so as far as my career went, like that wasn't even a thought anymore. The priority at that point was survival, and just am I going to see the next day, and just doing all of the things that the doctors were saying that I should be doing in order to survive and get on the transplant list, and just pray that I got chosen for a transplant.
How was your family when all this took place? How were they feeling?
So my parents are originally from South Georgia, so I have Southern parents, and so they were very supportive. They were there through this process, and but they are also of the generation that doesn't really talk about their feelings as much. And so, although they were very supportive of me and they were there every step of the way, I really didn't get a sense of how they were feeling about it. They just, put on a brave face to be there and be a support system for me.
So, so then let's take this a step forward. So, once you started your treatments and so forth, uh,
Hmm.
did you have to? How many days did you have to do dialysis, and what was the effect on your body?
So I had to do dialysis 3 days a week. So my schedule was Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And as part of the process, uh, like I can't have too much water or fluid on my body. So it's a daily calculation of how much I'm weighing at the time and how much is extra water weight or fluid weight. So it's always a calculation and a guess as to how much fluid and chemicals would go into the system as part of the dialysis treatment. And so if it's calculated correctly, then I have no problems. If it's calculated incorrectly or off a little bit, then maybe too much fluid will come off, and then I would experience cramping uh, throughout the treatment. And the crampings are like just very severe, like in the leg or the arm. Um, Even getting connected to the machine was painful because we were connected to the machine by sticking needles into our arms that are connected to tubes that are then connected to the machine. So, being punctured with very large needles 3 times a week, and the scarring process of your body trying to heal from that, it creates scar tissue. And, just the same way that it feels when you're going to get a blood draw, except it's the needles are much bigger. And so having that happen several times a week over a period of 14 months for me, which is a very relatively short amount of time compared to how many years that a lot of people are on dialysis waiting for their transplant.
Wow, that sounds like that was a rough process. So
Yes.
then, what happened next?
So after I got my transplant, I just began to rebuild my life. At this point, although I was very grateful to be alive and just having a second chance at life, I did feel a bit behind in my career because I did have to take about 5 years off of what I would have been, really doing to focus on developing my career. But I pressed on. I persevered. I decided to move to Southern California, and so I did that in 2014. And I pursued a career in technology. And so I am at Cal State Long Beach now, and I'm an analyst with the Office of Faculty Affairs. I manage a software that the campus uses, and I offer end user support and training for administrators and faculty and anyone who's using that software. And so I really enjoy the work that I do. Um, I have also opened and started my own company where I can help other people learn technology in the way that they learn best, and also work with small businesses. I was able to help small businesses during the pandemic to transition from brick and mortar and have a presence on social media so that their businesses can still thrive even when they had to close their physical doors.
Oh, wow. So let's take this in a procedural process.
Okay.
So now that you've gotten your transplant, you've now started to embark on your career, which put you behind some time. What is it that you like for our audience to know or to learn about being having to be a recipient of an organ?
Well, what I would like for the audience to know is that currently there are over 103,000 people currently waiting on the transplant list, and about 31,000 of those people waiting are Black Americans. And most of the people waiting are waiting for kidneys. About half of about half of the need right now is kidneys. And so I just really want the audience to know the importance of considering becoming registered as a donor. And what that means is that once you have lived your life to the fullest and you've reached the end of your life, that you're giving permission to share parts of you with someone else in a way that will save their lives and give them the second chance in the same way that someone has done for me.
So how does that process work?
Well, it's really simple. It's just a matter of either going to the DMV or going online to websites like onelegacy.org or dmv.org to register. They'll ask you information, your name, your address, basic information, and that you are giving permission that you want to be a registered donor.
Oh, wow. And so, are there like drives that take place over the country at particular times when it comes to being organ donors?
Yes. So I'm an ambassador with an organization called One Legacy. We are part of what we do as ambassadors is we go out to the community and we go to different events to be available to have conversations with people about what it means to be a donor, how is it to register, and to answer any questions that they might have about the process. So we'll have tablings at community events. We are part of parades. One Legacy had a parade in the MLK Day parade here in Southern California on Monday. I was honored to be a rider on their float during the Rose Parade on New Year's Day. And we just do things like that. We have lots of events, and we're out in the community talking about this to help encourage people to register.
So, what academic triumphs stand out in your journey?
Well, I really just do appreciate this second chance in life, and so I really do try to maximize living life to the fullest. And I do enjoy being a student, and so part of what I've done since being here in Southern California is that I've gone back to school and I earned another master's degree, this time in educational technology and media leadership on the campus of Cal State Long Beach. I really have enjoyed that process and everything that I learned through that program. And recently, I was honored with an honorary Doctor of Humanity. You mentioned that in the intro. Um, and that was recognizing the years of service that I've offered um, to my communities, both when I was here in Miami, Florida, and here in Southern California. So I really do hold that honor in high regard because I really appreciate that someone has noticed the work that I've done and they thought it award worthy.
Your work is definitely worth it because I tell you, to be here now, it sounds like that was a very tough road to go down.
Thank you.
Tell me, as you went through this, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and start your own business?
Well, it was really out of the advice of others that I should start this business. For years, I had always, loved to help people learn new things. And I just always felt like if there's anything that I know and it could help someone else, I would want to share that information with them. Um, and I do also understand that there are people that don't have access to the same things that I have. And so, education being one of them. And so, anything that I've learned through being at university and going to these different schools, I'd want to share that with other people. And so, being a part of this lovely sorority that I'm a part of, we have older sorors that we are around all the time. And so, sorors would just ask me to help them. Hey, can you help me with my computer? My daughter bought me this thing and I don't know how to use it, an iPad, a smartphone. And so I will always help them with their devices. And every time they would say, I appreciate your patience. I love the way that you showed me this. And you should really start a business because you're good at this. And so I've been hearing that for years. And I just never took the time to create the business until I did during the pandemic.
Oh wow, well that's inspiring. I mean, hey, you can start on this path. You can hit an obstacle or a roadblock, but then you pick right back up and you keep running. That's inspiration in its own right. And I'm glad that you're here, especially to tell this story, because I'm sure that there is somebody out there listening that this story is going to resonate with, and they should look at you and understand that if as long as you keep pushing, you can always get to where you want to go.
That's right. And also, I just want to add that, you know what? Yes, you see the fruit of all the hard work, but, the journey has not been easy. Um, you know, through all of those doctor's appointments to get all of those test results. I had to do a lot of that myself. My parents were retired and moved away. I wasn't married. I didn't have a significant other. So I would have to sit, in those doctor's appointments by myself. And I would look across at other people who are waiting in the appointment, waiting areas, and they would have their family members there. They would have their significant others there to be there to support them. And so, one of the things that I would like to share with the listening audience is, if you know someone who's going through a medical situation, and if you have the time in your schedule, offer to go with them to their appointment or drive them or something like that because it can get lonely at times and it would be really helpful just to have company or have someone to talk to whenever you're going to doctor's appointments. That would be really helpful. Go to visit whenever they're in the hospital if you're allowed to do so. Like having people around to support you through those things are very helpful. So, just check in, see how they're doing, call or go by, and just any little thing, a card to let them know that someone is thinking of them as they're going through their health journey would be helpful.
Well, and just thinking about, this rough patch in this road, especially when you got to your career path. Can you tell me how did you navigate the stereotypes in your professional career?
That's an interesting question. When I started my career, I started as a network administrator. And at that time, and in the environment that I was in, it was a predominantly male and predominantly white male. And we would get together sometimes in meetings and things, and I would ask questions because I'm a curious person. I love to learn, and why not learn from the best? And what I found was that people in that environment were not as open to share their knowledge because I realized later that a lot of it was just them being threatened. Um, there's enough work out here for all of us. Like, there's no need to, withhold knowledge or withhold information because you could share information with someone, but the way that they are able to use it or reproduce it, it's never going to be exactly the same as you. So you're always going to be unique in your own way. But when I noticed that they were not as helpful or forthcoming with sharing their knowledge, I just made a note to myself that I would not be that way and I would share as much as I could with other people if they were interested in doing in learning about technology or anything that I know about, to be honest. And so that's really how I've structured my life. I try to find different venues and avenues to share my knowledge. I mentor students on our campus, and any questions that they have about the educational process or whatever point they are in their educational journey, I offer suggestions and guidance and just my lived experience to help them do that. And that has helped along the journey. Just understanding that everybody is not going to be as helpful. And if that is the case, that is okay. I move forward and really gravitate towards the people who are open to helping and mentoring and sharing their knowledge and just helping me along my career path.
Wow. You know, I think it's not new that people that don't look like us are not very friendly. And so you can expect the selfishness when you're in particular parts of professional careers because the threat is always real to them for some strange reason. Can you share a specific instance where you achieved success amidst adversity?
I mean, there's so success comes in so many different forms, right?
Mhm.
So I will always say that like success, like my health is always a big success because as we know, it's like we could have all of the career aspirations or life aspirations that we want to have, but if we are not in good health, we can't do any of it. So being a healthy person and just being able to have options as far as where to live, what to eat, and how to exercise, I mean, that's a win to me.
Mhm.
I don't particularly feel that I am at the highest level of as far as my career goes. So I still have aspirations. I still want to continue to climb. So I wouldn't even say that I have reached a level of success yet. And I just continue to persevere. I continue to do what I think is best for the next phase of my life and just being open to whatever God has in store for me and just having my eyes open and to see what He may put forth and in front of me as a next step.
Wow. Um, you know, I was gonna wait to the end of the show to say this, but for those that are listening, please make sure if you've missed any of the shows, make sure you check them all out because we're going to have at the end of the year, we're going to have what we're going to call American Black and Whites Person of the Year. So people will get the chance to vote on each and every visitor that we've had on the show, and they can say this person should be the Person of the Year. So there will be a special award, but we'd like to have you on the show when that happens. So if that is you, I know you'll be back for another show, but I just want to let you know that that is something that we're doing as well.
That's awesome. I love that.
And so, what role did education play in your success story?
Well, you know what? To be completely honest with you, like I said before, as I was going through this journey of diagnosis and treatment, there were some days that were not easy for me. And to be completely honest with you, there were some days where I thought it might be best if I wasn't here anymore. And just, it's a lot to deal with, not knowing if you're going to live to the next day or if you're going to get a transplant to be able to continue your life. And there were times where I was just like, I'm not sure I can do this, and in one of those times where I had those thoughts, God just imparted in me the memory of like my parents and my teachers and all of the time and effort that they had invested in me, and just how it would not be fair to them to decide to, you know, just decide that I don't want to be here anymore. Like they've done too much. They've offered too much of themselves to me over the years. And so I really did reflect on all of the people who have been significant in my life and who have poured into me in ways that they didn't have to, and that I really do appreciate that. And so my high school teachers especially are included in that. And so because if they had invested as much as they did in me and I decided to end my life despite that, then what message is that, giving to them, and how would that impact the way that they would pour into another student or another set of students? And so I just felt that that would be a little bit selfish of me. And so I wanted to stay here and just continue to put in maximum effort to, persevere and do what I needed to do to get through all those tests, even if it was lonely, and just get through the process, go to treatment every day, and just do what the doctors had asked me to do, no matter how difficult it was. And if I could get through it, and I could be a success story, that it would send the message to everyone who is my village that, the effort that they've invested really does matter, and that to continue to give that same effort to other people in the way that their heart is led to do.
Oh, wow. Tell us about your entry into the professional world and the hurdles that you faced.
So my first job was actually in high school. It was an on-the-job training course when I was a high school senior. I worked in a warehouse setting, and there again, I was the only woman in the warehouse, and I was actually the first woman that this company had ever hired in that role. I was not met with open arms with my coworkers, because they looked at me as a woman. They looked at my stature being small. I'm only 5'3", and they just looked at me as someone who would, slow them down. They had their routine. They had their structure, and they were not happy to see me there. And so I saw that, and I didn't let it bother me. I learned what I needed to learn to pull my orders, pallet jacks and all, and I proved to myself and also to my coworkers that I was just as productive as they were, if not more, in certain areas. And over the time of them seeing that I wasn't something to slow them down, but I was actually an asset to help them work well, then they came around and we ended up becoming friends and good coworkers. And so that was my introduction to the workforce. It's just how men see women, without even knowing who they were or even seeing how they work. Um, and then, like I mentioned, being in the technology field, being predominantly white and predominantly male, there's also barriers there. And just trying to, be as knowledgeable as possible, get as much education as I can, get as much experience and practice and skills just to be the best professional that I can be. And despite what people may see or how they might feel threatened, that I just stay focused and give the best work that I can. Because at the end of the day, anything that has my name on it, I want it to represent what my name means. And I take that very seriously. And so, whatever I produce, I want it to be at my maximum capacity and just be the best that I can make it be. And I do have a reputation of, working very well and being detail oriented and just producing great work. And so, I take that very seriously, and that's how I work. So over the course of time, and even now, the salary inequities between men and women, and the lack of ladders in certain organizations. So I contend with all of those things, even to this day, and have been throughout my career. And so I just continue to be flexible, be adaptable, always open to learn and add to my skill set. My toolbox is big and valuable. And so I just continue to create opportunities for myself and seek opportunities that are good fits for what it is that I bring to the table.
Look, you can't help it that the egos are shallow.
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you reflect on the intersections of race and success in your experience?
Well, what I've done is, and I do a very good job of surrounding myself with people that look like me, and just the success stories that we bring to the table. And so right now I work on a predominantly white institution campus. But what I did is from the beginning of starting there is that I sought out the black and brown people on campus because I wanted to know who they were. I wanted to know where they were and what they did. And I wanted to build a village for myself. And I wanted to be a part of a village for someone else. And so when we have new people of color come on campus, and if we cross paths, I say hello to them. I try to get to know them. I make sure they're connected to other Black people on campus because that network is very important to the survival and the thriving of all of us on a campus that is predominantly white. And so that's what I've done throughout my career. I seek out the people, the Black people that are available. I get to know them. I want to know what they do. I want to know what they know. And I want to know how we can be connected. And so I'm still connected with people that I worked with 20 years ago, and it's important, and it's part of what makes going to work fun and enjoyable is looking forward to that village of people that I enjoy to be around outside of, the regular, position description work that I have and I'm responsible for doing.
So, do you, besides having your own business, you
Mhm.
also have a job?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And it's a full time job?
It's a full time job, but the salary, I'm a state employee, so the salary is not great. And so I need additional income. And so that's part of what motivated me to start the business. And so I work the business on evenings and weekends, on holidays, whenever there is spare time to work with seniors or small businesses.
So, that brings me to the community work that you do. This is within your community, right?
Yes.
So, how is it? How is your relationship with the people in your community as you not only help them to come up, but you're also building and expanding yourself both personally and professionally? How does that work?
Well, it's twofold, right? So I live in Long Beach, California. Again, it's predominantly white, but there is a community of black and brown people that live here. You don't see them really when you are like going to the store, the grocery store, or you're out and about in the community. So again, there is a seeking out and a finding of people that I had to do. And so I'm a part of different groups, like Black Everywhere, Black in Orange County. And so these are like meetup groups and organizations where it's for the Black people in the community, and we get together to hang out. We go to the movies together, we go kayaking, just whatever interest we have, we do it together. And that is the way that we get to see each other and we get to socialize. And that's part of the self care that we do as people of color living in America. And then we have the social, that's the social aspect, but then we have the service aspect. And so I'm part of a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and we're out in the community and we're serving the community. And so we go to women's shelters to provide dinners and prizes and playing games with the kids and the women. We are out creating care packages for people who are unhoused that will be distributed to them. We are just, we have mentoring programs. So we're out here doing a lot of work. And so I'm plugged in with them. I'm doing work with them. I'm also an ambassador with One Legacy. And so we're out in the community and we're spreading awareness about the importance of registering as an organ donor. And so I just look for things that I can do, that my story can impact, that my skills can impact, like whatever I can do to help, beach cleanups, whatever I find to be fun and impactful, I'm in there and I'm doing it.
Wow, you do a whole lot. um, Now, this one, this question is, I know it's going to be a little bit deeper, but I know that this is something that, because it's actually inspiring to me. So I want to know, can you share a personal reflection on your unique journey?
My personal reflection. My personal reflection on my unique journey is that my faith isn't always as strong as it needs to be to get me through what it is that I'm going through. And I really do lean on my village, family, friends, coworkers who are believers and who really do stand in the gap and they pray and they have sometimes a stronger faith than I do over my situation. And I know that with their prayers and with their confidence in God and with their relationship with God, it really helps in the times where I don't have it for myself. And so I'm a believer. I know what the word says. I pray for myself. I speak over myself, but I'm also a human person. And sometimes it gets so hard that I just don't have it. I don't have it. I can't do it. I can't even utter a word. But the village, the village is what helps. And I don't know how any of us are doing any of this without a village. And so, my personal reflection on my journey is that I'm not on the journey by myself. I never have been. God is here with me, and He sends a village. He sends the people and the right people at the right times to help me along the way. And I just hope that I have been that for other people as well, and that I strive to be that for people when I am strong enough to be that for them as well.
Address systemic challenges you faced and conquered in your career.
Systemic challenges. I mean, so we got the racism. I mean, if you're wearing this skin, I don't know if there's a way to avoid it. Um, I mean, it's there. You got the microaggressions. I mean, with everything that is on social media, that is in the news in 2024, I still had a case where my non-black coworker touched my hair at work, and it happened so fast. And it was in a moment where I was already having a moment
Right.
that I just didn't even have the capacity to address it at the time. You know, we were in the break room. I was warming up something in the microwave. She was making tea, and just very casual. And she was like, "Oh, I love your hair." And she said something else, but at the same time, she was touching it. I was like, "Oh."
No, she
And
did not touch the crown.
yes. I'm a very vocal person. I am a self advocate. I advocate for others, even in audiences where it could end up being a target on my back. I still do it anyway. But in that moment, I just didn't have it. I didn't have it to say. I didn't have it to do. I didn't have the energy to just go through the whole thing. And so I just let it go. But I'm just like, really? We're still doing this right now?
Oh my God.
Yes. So to answer your question, in the moments, in most of the moments, I am very vocal. I call out microaggressions. I call out behaviors that I feel isn't right in big audiences. In meetings full of my white counterparts and people of authority, and I voice my opinion on what I think is happening that's not right and how it needs to be addressed. That is what I do. Um, I know that it has cost me. I know that it has cost me promotions and awards, and I'm okay with that. I deal with those consequences, but my conscience is clear that I do the right thing and I speak up on behalf of those who don't have it to speak for themselves in that moment because I know what that feels like. And, I just believe that I will be blessed for it.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I want you to answer this question for me in an anecdote.
Okay.
How did resilience play a role in your story?
Resilience. Well, um, what we haven't talked about yet is personal relationships, like how like romantic relationships have played a part in this journey.
Mhm,
And so that's a whole conversation in itself.
mhm.
But at the end of the day, it has been ebbs and flows. I'm still not married, I'm still dating. Um, I'm believing God for the right match. But but yeah, it is what it is, ebbs and flows. And even though I have been in relationships that haven't worked out, I still believe that it's important for me to remain who it is that I am at my core. Because if I change, if I get calloused, if I take on the negative responses of excuse me failed relationships, I really feel like the person that I'm supposed to be with may not recognize who I am. And so I stay resilient and I stay true to who I am, not barring uh, improvements and self improvements and being better, but just remaining the person that I want, the partner that is meant for me to be able to recognize.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you, being married for 26 years, believe me, it's work, right? And the
Hmm.
process of it being work is worth it if I'm here that long. So that means that you've got the time, and you should take the time to
Hmm.
ensure that the person you decide you want to be with for the rest of your life, that
Yeah.
that's what you do.
Hmm.
Because you've got too many wonderful things going on now than to have the wrong person come into your life and just totally disrupt it.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
not something that you need. That's not something that you want.
Absolutely agree.
And also, I'm going to send you an invitation to join my book club because I'm sure you're going to love it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Um, so tell me, what lessons from your experience do you find valuable for the audience?
The lessons from my journey that I find valuable is to just to decide to be a hero for someone in a way that really costs you nothing. To decide to be a registered donor, to say, when my life is over and I've lived it to the fullest, that I would leave a gift behind for someone to help them get a second chance at life or enhance their life. It costs us nothing to do that, and why not? And why not?
Exactly. So, so in summarizing those key points for our audience, give us some other pointers,
Mhm.
that correlate with the story of being an organ donor, being strong and resilient, being the survivor that you are, and moving forward to the point where now you can actually see across the mountains. What do you have for our audience in summarization for your key points?
To enjoy life, to enjoy every day of life, to enjoy it as a privilege, to be grateful for it, and also to be grateful for the people in your life, and to make sure that they know that you are grateful for them, and to do things for them that show that in a way that resonates with them, um, to help others, because that is our ultimate purpose for being here anyway. Find ways that are comfortable for you to help someone else, whether it be a comforting word of advice or a smile to whoever is passing your path as you walk, a phone call, a visit. Every little seed that you impart on someone else makes an impact. And it may be the thing that changes their mind from deciding to continue through what they're going through. Or are here, it matters.
Okay, you kind of froze, but
Okay.
I'm sure that everybody understands that helping and being a family, being a part of someone's life when you can make a difference is very, very important.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Dr. Simone, for actually taking the time to bless us with your presence again because your story is one that definitely I know resonates with an enormous amount of people. Is your resilience, that makes us all proud because I'm very, very proud of you. But
Thank you.
also, to continue to carry that torch as being the strong black woman that you are and sticking to who you are because that's very, very important. And I hope that you will come back again on our show, and I hope that I'm sure that you will. But I just want to let you know that the invitation is always open, and I definitely would love to have you back. And I want to thank you for your time, and those out there in the audience that are listening. I would appreciate it if you all would go to the YouTube channel America in Black and White. Please make sure you look at the episodes that you have missed and please leave a comment on each and every last one of these episodes because, again, we're talking about the person of the year. And I want to make sure that I get a vote from each and every individual that's watching so we can let that person know that they stood out and they made a difference not only on this show, but in somebody's life. Thank you again. You all have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you again, Dr. Simone.
Thank you for having me. I have had the pleasure of chatting with you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.